Fake it till you make it. That's the new motto of the left wing of America. Because in 2021, if you dare to disagree with liberals and dare to speak out against the rise of lawlessness in America, beware. We saw it this week with the fake rush to judgment prosecution of Kyle Rittenhouse, the young man from Kenosha, Wisconsin, brazenly mistreated by the mainstream media, the vindictive left, and even the president of the United States, who lied and said that he was a white supremacist, a domestic terrorist, that he was part of a militia. This now 18-year-old was downright harassed and abused by a hostile prosecutor, a prosecutor who called into question the defendant's innocence in front of the jury simply because he exercised his constitutional right to remain silent before trial.
Since August 25th, 2020, this is the first time that you have told your story. Since August 25th, 2020, you've had the benefit of watching countless videos of your actions that night. You've also had the opportunity to listen to the testimony of all 30-some witnesses that have testified in this trial so far. After all of that, now you are telling us your side of the story, making the point that after hearing everything in the case, now he's tailoring his story to what has already been introduced.
The problem is, this is a grave constitutional violation for you to talk about the defendant's silence. That is, and you're right on the borderline.
So what really was the motivation of the prosecutor in this case? Why was the district attorney so quick to indict 17-year-old Rittenhouse within 48 hours of a complicated case where 3 individuals were shot at night in the middle of a riot, as hundreds of witnesses and hours of video needed to be reviewed? How was he so sure it was intentional murder versus second degree versus reckless or even self-defense? How is it that this young man, who immediately tried to turn himself in, was portrayed as a murderer who crossed state lines to kill, when he crossed that state line almost every day to work and visit his father and friends? The motivation? The crowd needed a villain. It was a give us a Barabbas moment. The mob wanted blood, and the DA was more than willing to appease them, giving them a 17-year-old without a real investigation. Make no mistake, liberals are emboldened, and their fake-it-till-they-make-it strategy has kicked into high gear. For anyone on the wrong side of the political aisle, you could quickly find yourself on the Democrats' enemy list. Remember the fake Trump dossier? The source of that phony attempt to smear the 45th president of the United States has been charged with lying to the FBI. But for the years, the intelligence community, backed by their allies in the mainstream media, they claimed the dossier was authentic.
It may be dirty, but it ain't fake.
Is there anything in the dossier that has been disproven?
No, I guess the short answer to the question.
We've always known it was fake, but leave it to the left to lie, divide, and try to turn us against each other. They don't care as long as they make it. Another fake narrative being sold to Americans is that people actually support the reckless Biden agenda and spending spree. That's about as fake news as it gets. Oh, and by the way, according to Stumbling Joe, if you don't agree with his fake agenda, you are just simply too stupid to appreciate the wisdom of his epic leadership.
You hear a lot about the supply chains in the news, but frankly, not a lot of people have a clear understanding, whether they have a PhD or they didn't go to school, about how a supply chain works.
Sorry, Mr. President. The reality is that only 37.8% actually approve of the job that you're doing. That's not surprising, considering that under the Joe Biden administration, consumer prices surged over 6% in October alone. And as temperatures start dropping from coast to coast, we are learning that year over year, propane prices are up 54%. Heating oil is up 43%. Natural gas is up 30%, and electricity is up 6%. And with less than 2 weeks to go until Thanksgiving, food prices are skyrocketing. But that's not stopping Washington from spending your hard-earned money. Last week, they pushed through a $1.2 trillion so-called infrastructure bill with 13 Republicans willing to sell their souls and their party down the river. Take a look on your screen. The Democrats who fake it till they make it can't always do it alone. Sometimes even so-called Republicans catapult them to the top. These are the Republicans who supported a $1 trillion piece of legislation that not even AOC herself could support. They could have stopped it and started from scratch. They don't deserve to be reelected next term. And sadly, the spending spree is only beginning. Up next, a $1.75 trillion climate bill that's likely to be voted on this week. And according to the former head of the DNC, Ed Rendell, wasting trillions of tax dollars at a rapid pace makes stumbling Joe Biden a modern-day FDR.
I will tell you that when the New Year strikes, when we go to 2022, we will have a president who's achieved more in his first year in office than anyone, certainly in my lifetime. You'd have to go back to FDR to find someone who has achieved anything greater.
Comparing Joe Biden to FDR is not only fake news, it's downright laughable. Now, speaking of laughter, that seems to be the administration's go-to strategy whenever they're faced with tough issues.
What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh, my God. That is hilarious. Would that I had the magic wand on this.
Do you plan to visit the border?
Not today, but I have before, and I'm sure I will again.
You know, there's nothing funny about the energy crisis or the supply chain crisis or the border crisis or any of the real crises impacting families across the nation. But stick to your fake-it-till-you-make-it strategy, liberals, and we'll see who's laughing on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, when Americans head to the polls to put an end to the fake-it-till-you-make-it strategy. And that's my open. Let me know what you think on my Facebook and Twitter. # Judge Jeanine.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.